Go.
Great. So welcome everybody to the secretary training. Since we don't have too many people here, I think if we do a quick introduction of everyone and maybe your experience in Rotary and the positions you've had. And I'll start off. Don Thorpe, Rotary Club of Welland. I've been a member since 2003 and secretary since about 2012, except for our in behind me, you can see our centennial that didn't really happen. And I ended up being president that year. So anyway, I've had, I guess, a fair amount of experience in secretary, and we'll go through the process. And I think because we have a small number of people, it'll be a little bit more interactive. So if you have questions, you can speak up at any time.
People said that police are performing poorly, according to that same study. And we know that Indigenous people and Black people are overwhelmingly overrepresented.
Coming in from somewhere.
Yeah.
Canada.
Not sure where.
We also saw during the Ottawa occupation in February that there's a pattern of low police interventions in convoy-like demonstrations, and before that, anti-vaccine demonstrations. That says that police are twice as likely to engage.
Not sure. Hang on.
Activists.
Who's ever doing that? Can you mute yourself?
Brutally shut down Black Lives.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, so who wants to go? Actually, who wants to go next? Sharon, you're on my screen here.
Hi, I'm Sharon Willock. I'm the secretary for the Rotary Club of St. Catharines. I've been the secretary for 1 year. I've been a member for 2 years. My husband Duncan has been a member of Rotary for many years with the Streetsville Rotary Club prior to St. Catharines before we moved out here. So I was involved as an associate member, which is a category they had in Streetsville for a short time. And before that was a volunteer / spouse supporter, whatever. But have been, it's a fairly large club. We have close to 100 members. So it's been pretty busy and been a bit of a learning experience because I'm relatively new to Rotary and this club in particular. So I'm hoping to learn a lot tonight.
Thank you. Patty?
I'm Patty Johnson from the Buffalo Sunrise Club. I'm currently the president of the club, and we are doing something a little different this coming year. We're having co-presidents for 2 years, and we're having essentially a recording secretary and an executive secretary. And I'm taking the role of executive secretary, which is doing a lot of the communications and you'll tell us all about that today. I will not be doing the minute recording. I've been in Rotary for about 20 years. I was president of the Grand Island Club and I was a secretary there, but that was in a former lifetime. And this is my second stint as president of Buffalo Sunrise. We have grown dramatically in the last 3 years, actually. During the pandemic, we sort of steadily gained members, and we went from about 21 to 37, and we sponsored a satellite club, which gave us another 9 members. So we're now up to 46.
Great. Roger?
I'm the secretary of the Grimsby Rotary Club. I did this many years ago for quite a long time and finally found somebody that wanted to take over from me, and I did some other roles. I have been club president. Last year I was drafted to become secretary again, so I did that, and I'm going to do it again this year. I think things are going fairly well with that job, but it's interesting to talk about it, and certainly some of the things have changed along the way that are a lot easier to do now online.
Thank you. Dasha?
Hi, I'm Daisha from Leroy. That's I've coming up on my year anniversary, I think, or it may have just passed. I don't know, with COVID all the time just mushes together. So I'm new to Rotary and I'm going to be taking on the role as secretary.
Well, it'll be interesting. Thank you. Donna?
Hi, I'm from the Batavia Club. I've been with the club since about 2004. Back right after I joined by 2 or 3 years, I was secretary then. 15, 16, I was co-president with my husband for a year. I've been the AG for Area 14 for the last 4 years. And I'm transitioning out of AG and actually back into a role at the club. I'm not sure who else mentioned it, maybe Patty, but we are doing our secretarial work with two different people, which is good with me. I don't mind the computer stuff. I don't like taking minutes and writing and typing because I'm terrible at it. So I'm here to hopefully learn what's changed since 2005 or 6 or so in the secretarial area for Rotary. And looking forward to learning all the new tricks.
Thank you, Donna. I believe Lauren.
I'm secretary of Rotary Fort Erie. Excuse me. Have you ever noticed when you're about to speak, your voice, your throat fills up? Anyway, I've been in Rotary since I was 9 years old, and my father helped to charter Port Colborne. When he died in 1970, I joined Rotary Port Colborne. I was brought in by his friends in 1971. Port Colborne died. I moved to Fort Erie, where I've been president twice and currently secretary. It's a great place to serve. Some years ago, I went to one of these club training seminars that are held each spring, and attended something more interesting than the secretary's portion of it, only to find in the next year Penny beating me about the head and ears because there were a whole bunch of changes that had happened that I didn't understand. So that's why I'm here after having been secretary for 10 or 20 years or whatever it is. And I'm looking forward to seeing what 7090 teaches us. Thank you.
Well, I know too. Thank you, Lauren. Barbara?
Hello, I'm Barbara. I am the secretary for the Westfield Mayville Rotary Club. I've been a member for about 5 years, and I think I've been the secretary for the last 2 years and will be for the upcoming year. And so just kind of a small world thing, a message to Daisha. Jim Ellison and I, having gone to a small school in Leroy, New York, we were locker mates. Ellison and Faye were right next to each other for 4 years. And my nephew, Jake Whiting, I think is also a member now of your club in Leroy. So greetings to you. And that's part of the Rotary family, I guess.
Thank you, Barbara. And I believe Nancy is our last one.
Yes, I apologize. I could not find the Zoom link. So here I am. Penny helped me out. And I am with the Rotary Club of Norfolk Sunrise in Simcoe, Ontario. And I've been secretary here for about 8 years, I think. And yes, I learn something new every time I come to one of these sessions. So always helpful.
Well, thank you. And we'll see what we can do today. Okay, so I'm going to use a PowerPoint. I can't see everybody on the screen when we do that. So if you have something to say in between, just sort of talk out. It shouldn't be that long. You'll see me look away a bit because I have another computer with a few notes because this is the first time I've fully done this. So we shall see what happens today. So. Okay, so we're going to be talking, and the other thing too is please interrupt at any time if you have questions. Not that it makes any difference, but we're pretty well evenly split between the US and the Canadian side. But it really, really doesn't make a difference except in, excuse me, one component, which we'll talk about. So if I'm, and you'll see a little bit of repetition in this as well, only because there are a few issues that sort of should be reinforced. So again, we're going to be looking at the roles and responsibilities of the club secretary.
Don,
Yes.
I think Lauren has his hand up. Lauren, is your hand
Oh,
raised?
yes, I see it.
I'm sorry, I was having trouble. You know, these wonderful computers, you'd never know that I've been computing forever. And I think I've done it by mistake. Apologies. There we
Okay.
go. Sorry about that.
Okay. So I think it's pertinent to talk about the new next Rotary year. The first woman that we've had as an RI president. I'm happy to say that she's from Canada, Windsor, Ontario. But she is in a neighbor of 7090. And I think her theme is like others, a good one, Imagine Rotary. She wants Rotarians to imagine the possibilities and the change that they can make to transform the world. And I think we have to look at, imagine the change that we can make at the club level, whatever our responsibilities are. The secretary, particularly of a Rotary Club, is considered the glue that keeps the club moving forward. At least that's what my current president and former boss says. And I think what will come a little bit clear maybe as our discussion goes on is the club size is going to determine to some extent what the president does. If you have a large club, it'll probably be very defined. If you have a smaller club, similar to Lorne, that you're going to be doing almost everything. Our club is about 34 members, and I've personally have a few more responsibilities than a normal secretary, but that's just the makeup of the club. So each club will have a little bit different makeup. The critical thing for here is if you have not created a My Rotary account on the RI site, please do, and do it as soon as you can. Is there anybody that hasn't? Just speak up. Good. Because a lot of your, quite a few of your duties will happen on the RI site. So it is important to keep that going. And just as an example, and I'll talk about it later, this will be used, My Rotary account will be used to update membership, club information, officers, Club Central, goals, training, and training courses. And if I don't mention it later, RI has a huge amount of training courses that range online, that range from 10 minutes to an hour and a half on a whole bunch of duties, including quite a few with respect to the secretary. So how can we help the clubs run smoothly and effectively, monitor club trends, and share information with club and district leaders? So obviously all of our clubs can be the best that we can be. A little of the legal stuff. The secretary is an elected board member as well as a club officer, and that is defined by the Rotary Constitution. The other officers are the president, immediate past president, and the treasurer. And again, that's the Rotary Constitution. It can also include one or more vice presidents and sergeant at arms if provided for in the club bylaws. The remainder of the board are directors and the past president. So the secretary is the official position with delegated duties and responsibilities. I know, I guess it was Fort Erie, Lauren, that was asking about the bylaw. Now, I'm not sure that there is a different version between Canada and the States. I don't believe there is for the Rotary bylaw component. We will talk a little bit shortly about if your club is incorporated or not, and that will provide a major difference. So we're going to talk about the main responsibilities, how you work with the club president, unless you happen to be the co-president and the secretary at the same time, how you work with the club treasurer, club committees, how do you manage membership leads, and what administrative duties can you streamline? These are the list of duties, the basic ones that I have sort of come up. I've gone through the RI site as well, and looking at some of Penny's things, but basically record keeping, minutes, although one mentioned that you're splitting that component. Membership is extremely important. Invoices may not sound important, but it actually is. Attendance, if you do it, bylaws and the Constitution, the annual meeting, which has some importance, and club goals, which I think is important for several reasons. Record keeping, minutes, and membership. Secretary is required, or main duty is to maintain the official club records, which include minutes, bylaws, the Constitution. In all cases, club records are very important, particularly minutes, bylaws, etc. The keeping of updated minutes is a legal issue, particularly for those clubs which are incorporated. So are there any clubs here that you know that are incorporated?
Fort Erie is.
I see a couple of shrugs. Buffalo Sunrise? Okay.
Fort Erie is.
Incorporation, in Canada, the district incorporated, I think finally last year that it got approved. And it's a legal constitution within either the New York State or the United States or Canada or Ontario. And so there are certain legal requirements from a government's perspective that you have to follow, and that includes doing reporting at year end. So if in fact you are incorporated, it's something that you should check with the past secretary or other members of the club for those that aren't sure if they are or not. Because again, it's slightly different than just the Rotary component itself, because there is no direct reporting on from respect to Rotary with respect to bylaws or the year-end reports.
And this is the case both in the US and Canada, right?
Yes.
Okay. I had no
So
idea.
if you're in the States, you'd be incorporated, again, I don't know, either in New York State or as a federal corporation. It can be done the same in Canada. It's either a Canadian corporation or a provincial corporation. But there are legal requirements, and if you do not file the year-end reports, you can get into some issues. If you're incorporated, the likelihood is that you also are incorporated as a charity. And if that's the case, that's very important that those records or your annual reports are done so that you don't lose that charitable status. Generally speaking, the treasurer will look after most of that because it's more of a monetary issue. But again, it's the secretary's duty and responsibility for the maintaining the official records. So again, if you are incorporated, please check with whoever in your club to determine that. I would say at least once a year, review the club's bylaws and constitution. Now and I'll have this up in a bit as well again, but the Rotary International provides a suggested club bylaw that you can alter, and also a constitution, which is a required constitution. Your clubs should all have those. You don't have to file them anywhere. You can download them, fill them out, pass them as a motion within your board, And just check every couple of years, or at least once a year, to make sure that nothing has changed. The Constitution, basically, you cannot change it, but the bylaw itself, there are different things that you can alter, basically depending upon how you operate your club. Other duties are to maintain board annual meeting and club assembly minutes. So the secretary is required to take minutes and keep those minutes. They should be provided to your membership, either online or some method. The Constitution does say within 60 days. I can say myself that I usually wait 3 or 4 months before I upload them to the website. But again, they should. You are required to do those particular minutes. You're responsible for maintaining official record of membership. So it is the secretary's duty to enter new members, to delete members. If you have your own system like Club Runner within your club, you can often do it through that. If not, you will go on to My Rotary and do it through that process. I personally do it that way first, but that's just my preference. But again, you are the one that does that. I will say on My Rotary, if you, once you are a secretary, you have access to the full My Rotary records on our site for your club. So you can see everything. You and the president, and I think are the only two that sees everything. The treasurer can see the financial information. So when you get a new member, you are going to register them on My Rotary. You'll get a Rotary number through that. Again, or through your own club management system if you have that. And again, if you're using the club system, as an example, Club Runner, ensure that the RI data is updated. So if you register a new member under Club Runner, double check on the RI site to make sure that in fact the information did go through. Sometimes it doesn't. Particularly at the year end, which we'll talk about, most important. Yes, Lauren.
Yes, I've thought it went back and forth when it first started, and we had Club Runner. We've since stopped using Club Runner, but the district uses it. So you can, I found that I can go on the district website, add a member, delete a member, and so long as I've clicked some button, which is always hard to find, that it will transfer to My Rotary at RI. The transfers go up, and I still go up, as you suggested, and check at RI to make sure it was done. But you don't have to have Club Runner in your club in order to be, as long as you use the Rotary7090.org website to add the member. That's my experience. Others, you may have different experience, Don, and it is definitely worthwhile double checking.
Yeah, I would say that that is correct. As long as you again, you have to sign in through the district website for that. So you have to register there, which if you have your own Club Runner, it's an automatic. But good point, Lauren. Thank you. The other thing that's quite important here is that you're responsible for updating the club officers. So when you have an election, which is supposed to happen by the end of the fiscal year, December 31st, you would go into the RI site and register. They'll have the past year, the current year, and the future year. You would go in and put in your president, president-elect, treasurer, secretary, and I think they also want the membership chair. But that again is your responsibility to go in and make sure that that information is updated. If for some reason throughout the year, a president leaves or another director officer leaves and you replace them, you should go into the RI site and correct that information, because that's how a lot of the information does come through for invoicing and this type of thing. So just again, it's another thing that you have to keep in mind. It doesn't happen often, but it happens at least once a year. This sounds a little crazy for secretaries, but I got involved with this when the RI site went electronic back about 6 years ago. And it created a whole bunch of issues. So Rotary International sends invoices for dues to the club semi-annually, so July and January. And it is based entirely on the membership that exists on July the 1st and January the 1st. So you have to, you will get emails from Rotary International saying, have you updated your information? If you happen to have, say you're in December, that somebody resigns from your club, and you don't go in and put that resignation in by December 31st, when Rotary International sends out the invoice, that person will be on it. You cannot change that. You cannot delete that. So the club will end up paying the dues for that person. So again, January the 1st and July the 1st are the invoice dates. Whatever the membership is on the RI site that day is what you'll get charged for. The district invoices come yearly based on the membership as July the 1st. So, you know, again, that's something that's you'll get used to, but it's something that is very critical. Particularly in the past, and I don't know if it's still happening now, where quite a few clubs, including our own at one point, had people that hadn't paid their dues, you know, by the end of December. Well, do you delete them? Or do you keep them on and hopefully get the dues? So the other job for the secretary, and you won't see it written now, but it was written before, you're responsible for ensuring that all active members have paid their club dues. So I work with our treasurer to find out who may not have paid. And I follow up with emails to make sure that they do pay. The other thing is that the club RI dues and actually the district dues will come through to the club treasurer, like the invoices will come to the club treasurer as well as the secretary and the president. Just double check that your treasurer received it and is actually acting on it. You have 60 days to pay. For those clubs that are looking to do the Rotary citation, the annual award by putting in goals and achieving them by the end of the year, I think it's important. I did some of the training for it about 3 or 4 years ago with Dave Barry. Some clubs don't, but I think it's good because number one, you provide goals for your own club, and it gives you an opportunity to achieve those goals. If you're going for the Rotary citation, one of the items that's always on there is your membership. So if you say you're going to hit a membership of 35 people and say you're at 33 and you do hit 35, then you've achieved that goal. However, if that person, if somebody is not coming back in July the 1st, so they said, you know, we're letting our membership lapse on June 30th. Don't delete them, because Rotary International has come through with something unique that's a pain in the butt for Canadians. On July the 1st, that's considered the midpoint between the 2 years. So anybody that is not going to continue in the new calendar or new Rotary year, July 1st, you delete them on July the 1st. And Rotary International considers at that point that they were a member right up to the end of the year. If you delete them on the 30th of June, you will not have met, you'll be one less person, and you may not have met your Rotary citation goal. You can also add new members on July the 1st, and they will be a new member as of July the 1st going into 2023, we'll say. So it's a little bit confusing, but if you are going for the Rotary citation, July the 1st is the day that you delete people, members that are not coming back, and you can also add members at that point. Any questions on that? I see Donna? Yeah,
Yeah, that doesn't screw up the invoice?
it does not.
Okay.
And it was only created through Marley, the late Marley, was the district governor, no, past district governor at the time when we were working at it. We discovered the problem. We were the only district that discovered the problem throughout the world.
Yeah.
So
We
Rotary-
had that, I'm in that, well, Marley was right above us in Albion. And it's
Yeah.
been a problem for clubs in my area.
Yeah.
That they deleted and then they found out they didn't meet their goal.
Yes, I know. And usually that's the one that you need, you know, like you need 12 or 13 of them, and that's number 13. So again, it's just if you do them July the 1st, there's no problem with RI. It's sort of a dead day, if you will. Okay. Any other questions? There's another whole story behind that one, but we won't go there.
Don,
Yes,
does that apply with the December 31st
no,
aspect as well?
No.
December 31st is precise. Delete them on December 31st, is that
oh,
right?
you can delete them November, you can do them October, whenever it happens. The critical point for, let's assume that we had one last year that they said that they were leaving on December the 31st. They sort of moved away down to the islands. If I waited till January the 1st to delete them, just because I'm lazy, we'd be charged $35 US for the RI dues for the rest of the year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Just gonna go back for that. Yes. So update club and officer information for the official directory and the RI and district records. So it's sort of a two-part component. You have to update the officer information, as I said, on the RI site, My Rotary. But you also have to update the district records. And the district wants more information. They want to know some of your directors, your youth director, membership, I forget what else on there. Because when the membership group from the district is reaching out to do training for directors of membership, they want to know who they are. So if they're not listed on there. So again, that's something to do on an annual basis, or if it does change during the year, that you would go in and change that. The other thing is, and again, this will depend upon how your club works, but correspondence, including responding to emails and sending official notices, invitations, is the job of the secretary. Most clubs, but not necessarily all clubs, may have a club email. Ours happens to be info@Welland Rotary Club. The secretary would be the one that would get that information and should get the information, because you'll get inquiries in there or you'll just get junk stuff, but you're the one that sort of has all the records, you know what's going on in the club. So you should be either responding to those emails or sending them on to somebody that's responsible for it, whether it could be the president, it could be the treasurer, someone else. But again, it's something that you should be looking at. Official notices would be board meetings in particular, annual meeting, club assemblies possibly. We get into other ones. I get into invitations to events that were going on as well. So you may or may not be responsible for official notices, but definitely for board meetings and anything to do with the bylaws, you would be the person that does that. Record attendance, if it's a club option, but if it's something that your club does, whether it's through Club Runner or something else, but keeping track of attendance. Ensure your club has its annual meeting by December 31st. Now that is in the bylaw and the Constitution. I can tell you we haven't had ours yet, so that's not a good thing to say. But at your annual meeting, you'll be looking at the minutes from the previous annual meeting, and that is actually where you would do your election for the following year. So this past December would be for 22-23. You also have to give notice of that annual meeting 30 days ahead. So that's back into November, which means that your president-elect, sometime by September, October, should be putting their board together. So it's something as a secretary, it's not necessarily a duty you have to do, but you can remind them that this is coming up and this is something you should do. It's semi-critical, I would say personally, because what RI wants to do is have the list of the new executive on their records, so that when they do their, well, they used to do CDs, I guess, of all the clubs throughout the world. Now it's all online. But again, it's something that people will forget or may not actually do, but it is a requirement under the bylaw and the Constitution. Another thing that is a personal thing for me, as I said, we had our 100th anniversary. So we were April the 1st, which is an appropriate day, 1920, when we got our charter. So for our anniversary in 2018, I started looking for our records. Couldn't find an awful lot. I'm still going through newspaper, the library through microfilms, looking up newspaper articles. I'm in 1948 right now. So don't think of it just as you're doing this stuff for this year, but it's for the future as well, so that people can look back. So your minutes, putting things together in an appropriate place so they can be passed on, not just paperwork. I've actually scanned everything that I can find now into a database. But historical records, we don't think about it until it's too late. So I think it's another thing to do. If you do a newsletter, somehow get them under one category, like scan them in or electronic, and keep them, because I found when I'm looking through whatever records I have, they'll say, well, all the information was given through your newsletter. Well, if you don't have the newsletter, you don't know what happened at the board meetings if there aren't minutes. So just it's a personal thing that I think is important to do. Ensure the club bylaws and constitution are updated. I think we heard that one club at Norfolk Sunrise was updating theirs. It's a simple process. The recommended bylaw, and I can send this out to, or at least I'll get Penny or someone to send my presentation out if you want. But the recommended club bylaw link and the standard Rotary Club Constitution are here. They can be found on the district website or my Rotary. I find the district website is easier to find it than the RI site, because when you do a search in there, you can go all over the place. And if we want to, I can come back to this and we can see if I can link them up. It worked earlier for me today, but we'll see if that works out. Work with your president to set, input, and track club goals in Rotary Club Central at My Rotary. So this is what I was talking about earlier. These are the same goals that each president, RI president, will set for the Rotary citation for the year. They've changed the process lately, so it's about 25 goals, of which you have to do, this year it's 13 to get the citation. But again, I think it's a process that if the club sets their own goals based on that, it's something that you can strive for, whether it's membership, socials, projects. It's a good way to keep your club moving forward. For those that have been president and for those that are now training to be president, I find the training always says the president has to do everything. One of the things from a personal perspective, I think a secretary has a good opportunity to make the president look good. So rather than wait for them to do things, you can make suggestions, help out. And again, I usually go in, or not I usually, I do go in and put in the goals once they've been discussed and approved by the board and the membership. I actually do go in and update them all the time. So if we've had another social example, they have to have, I think, 5 socials is one of the goals. When you have another social, you just go in and do a click mark and it's done. So another reason to go into Club Central. So find out how your club does that, if in fact they do. A good operating club will have the president delegate to others. And I think that's the other point I would like to make, is that the training says the president has to be everything to everybody. A good leader delegates the responsibilities to the people they have. Unless, of course, you have a club of 9 people, when everybody does a little bit of everything. There are a little bit of mixture of brand new and established secretaries that we have here today. But if you are coming into the new process, or if in fact you transition out later in another year or 2, work with the outgoing secretary to ensure the smooth transition. Understand the club's culture. What is the secretary's role? And make sure you receive the club records, the minutes, minute books, however you're doing it, electronic and paper. Club training assembly, like we're doing today, or the district conference, or another places to get information. Take online courses. So RI, since the pandemic, has done a wonderful job of creating the RI Learning Center. If you have not been on there, go on. There are hundreds of courses for a whole bunch of different things. But there is a whole section there on secretary. So you can go in if you've got 15 or 20 minutes and look up something to get a little bit more information on it. A review of the club secretary pages on the district and the RI sites. So again, these are links to those 2 sites. And again, Penny's done a good job on the club or the district ones to put as much information on there as possible. Meet with the incoming club officers or board of directors to plan the club's year and define your role if in fact you're newer. Some clubs have an inaugural board meeting in May or June. I don't know what your club does, but I know our club has done that probably for the last 15 years or so, I guess. And it's a good way for the new board to sort of get established, set some of the goals, and give some direction. But it helps also to define the roles of the different people, and particularly the secretary. It's interesting, I was on the RI site there's a secretary group, I guess. I can't remember the terminology for them. Like there's a wine group and a travel group. There is a secretary's group, and I was reading one from the Middle East, I guess, or Asia. And basically the secretary is saying, what do I do with my president? He's dictating everything that should be done, as if they're the secretary to the president. You're not. You're the president, or you're secretary of the club, not the president's secretary. So if you have issues with that, it's something that you'll have to deal with through your board. These are just a couple of more links actually from Penny's presentation. There is club district support that you can go to at the district if you need assistance. Penny is just fantastic to provide if you've got an issue that's come up that you haven't come across before, or talk to other clubs that you know. If you have questions somewhere along the line, I'd be glad to help you answer them if I can. And there's also a link to a financial representative at RI if in fact you need any information there. Club meetings, work with your president and administration committee. Now, I don't know how many clubs have administration committees, but to plan for an interesting club meetings. This is where some of that change may come in. And I think we've all done it to some extent over the last 2 years of how we operate. Reducing how often you meet. You're supposed to do it at least twice a month. Counting service projects or social events as meetings. And that was something that you couldn't do 10 years ago. But if you have a social now, everybody's there. It's basically considered a meeting. Many of us are doing alternating between online, in-person, or hybrid meetings. It's somewhat successful. We just started our hybrid back in April. It's interesting. We don't have quite as many people coming out in person, but we do have them online. So I think Imagine Rotary, which is the next year's theme, is a good point here. How can we imagine how we're going to proceed in the future? How can your club become better, and how can your members become more engaged? Because I think the issue on membership is you get the members, but how do you keep them? And I think that's an important factor where the secretary can have a fairly good input in this. President leads the club meetings or the club board meetings. Usually the secretary has the following duties. So you work with the president to set the agenda. Again, this may change between depending upon how your club works. The secretary would put together the agenda and the committee reports. You send meeting notices to board members and confirm, if they will confirm, that they're going to attend. Take minutes and send them to the board with the agenda prior to the next board meeting, or sooner if there are actionable motions. So again, your minutes and the agenda should be together at the next board meeting. One of the things I will do is the regular Rotary meeting after our board meeting. I will give the president basically the recommendations that came out of that board meeting to present to the membership at the next meeting. Like, so if you have a board meeting this week and you have a regular meeting next week, the president talks about what was approved at the board meeting. It's just another way to keep the membership informed of what the board is doing, because it's usually one of those things that's out there and nobody really bothers about what they do until something comes up. And when did that happen? Club assembly. I think we all sort of maybe have those. It's intended to inspire and engage members. It says most clubs have 4 to 6. I'm going to guess that probably doesn't happen. But it's a good time for the president and the directors to talk about what they've done, what they plan on doing, and basically having the membership have a little bit more direct say in what is going on, or at least question and answer on how things are going. So you would be there to basically help do that, keep minutes of it, and assist the president during the meeting. But I think it is a good opportunity for membership engagement. This is changing too. The old time, before Melissa, I guess, district governor made the official visit to every club. It was very officious, I guess. I usually had a board meeting before or after the meeting. The district governor talked about the goals for the district. What's happened in the last couple of years with COVID is they've been done online, and each district governor has done a different process. What I will say is work with the president to prepare the visit. The district governor may want reports on the club plans and activities. This year, Anne did not necessarily want that, but be ready to discuss your club's progress towards its goals, if in fact you've set them. And if you have questions about what the governor is expecting, you can ask the assistant governor. As I said, they've changed over the last 2 years. I will tell you a story that I heard about 4 or 5 years ago, I guess. I don't know what club it is, and I will apologize if it's any club that's here, but hopefully it's not. The district governor and his wife came to a meeting, was greeted at the door, but people basically didn't talk to the district governor. When they went to sit down, there were no spaces for him and his wife. So they didn't think about who he was, what he was there for, and sort of the normal thing that we should be doing whenever we have guests, whether they're Rotarians or otherwise, is make them feel welcome. So I actually heard that story directly from the district governor. So it's just something to keep in mind, although we may not have those same opportunities in the future. There is a protocol to follow if the district governor does does come. It is on the district website, and it can be as simple as how you fly your flags in your room, meeting room. But again, make sure the district governor and the partner are greeted as they should be, as guests. If you're doing monthly attendance reports, you do those on Club Runner or the district. Shouldn't touch my mouse. Through the Club Runner. Preserve your club's historical records, as I said before. Write an annual report for the club at the end of the Rotary year. That may or may not be important. One of the things that I do, and only because I found that we didn't have the historical records, at the end of the year, I take all of our paper minutes, our attendance records, our newsletter that we do, and any news articles that we had, either scanned or otherwise, and I put them in a binder. And that becomes the year's records. Now, again, I've got electronic copies of that, but again, it's the paper record for the future. You assist the club president, treasurer, and committees as needed, and meet with your successor and hand over, again, the club records. There could be a situation where you're taking over where another secretary has left. Hopefully not the case. And nobody knows where the records are. It's something somebody should always know where those records are. Information, again, if we send out this, you'll have these links, but pay or view your club invoice. You want to make sure that they are paid. Just double check with your treasurer. The discussion group is what I was trying to say for club secretaries. That's where I got that little interesting thing about the president. Club insurance. This is another thing that is different between the US and the Canadian side, is if you're having an event, you should insure, every club does have their own insurance. In the Canadian side, our rates are a little bit higher because we have a Canadian insurance. But you can go onto the district site and you can get a copy of your club's insurance certificate for the year. If you're having an event somewhere, you should go to the insurance company either in New York or in Ontario that has because they're two different insurance companies, and get a specific insurance policy for your event. Some places where you're going may request that you have insurance and put it in their name as well as an insured body. But it's I think I just got in mind for, we have an event coming up in about 3 weeks. And I believe it's like $5 million coverage for accidental and stuff. So again, whether it's the secretary's job or not, you should know about it. So if there's an event coming up that's run by a fundraising committee, make sure they've got the insurance. It protects you, the club, and everyone else. If you have Club Runner, there's a Club Runner support. They are excellent at responding. And they do a good job. If you have your own system, hopefully you'll know how to get in touch with them. And I got another link to Be a Vibrant Club, your club leadership plan. Again, it's another link that I believe is on the RI site. And that's it in an hour and 2 minutes. Does open for any questions, or does anybody want to go back and look at any of the links that I had? If I can work them for the bylaw or the Constitution, just let me know, or I can stop the share.
I have a question.
Certainly.
When should the minutes be distributed to the membership after a meeting? Before the next meeting or not necessarily?
After, because you don't approve the minutes until the next meeting. So on the bottom of your minutes, it should be approved by, it would be the next meeting date. The president and the secretary would sign them. So it's at the next board meeting that your minutes are approved. After that, they should be sent off to the membership should have them available to them. I can tell you that 99.9%.
This is just for club meetings, right?
I'm sorry?
This is just for the club meetings, right?
The board meetings.
No, I'm talking about the club meetings.
You don't have to keep minutes of meetings, regular meetings.
Oh, you don't?
No. Do you have a newsletter?
No.
Okay.
So you should have one or the other.
Yeah, I mean,
Something to keep the membership informed as to what's
Yeah.
going on.
this is not a secretarial duty, but I also do our newsletter. So what I do is sort of talk about what was happening. And because I worked with the president on the agenda, I sort of have all the stuff ahead of time. But I'll take a brief discussion, notes on what the speaker did. If in fact the speaker came or attended the meeting and did a PowerPoint presentation, I'll get a copy of that PowerPoint presentation, do the newsletter and send it out before the next meeting. And that, especially for the members that don't show up, it keeps them, but there are not true minutes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that.
Sharon?
Yes, I struggle with these notifications that come from RI that say things like Joe Blow tried to change their email and
Okay.
it failed, and I don't know who to contact because some of them seem to not be an issue, but somebody says they are.
They are. Well, they are and they aren't. I tried to do it myself. Again, I try to help some of our members. So they've changed their email address. And I'll go in and do it. I actually can't change their email address. As a secretary, you have a heck of a lot of control over what is on the RI site. You can change almost anything because that's the power you've got. But the usually what happens is you're on Club Runner, right?
Right.
Okay. Club Runner, for some reason, doesn't jive with RI on certain things. One is definitely a change in email address. I forget what the other one is. And they are a pain in the butt. So essentially, because your email, when you register or sign in on the RI site, you're using your email address. So if Joe changes his email address, you try to go and change it in RI, you can't because it's access and it's his login. Just go back to the member, tell them to sign in on My Rotary and amend their own thing.
Yeah, sometimes I'll even check sometimes and they'll say, yeah, it's correct on Club Runner. The email is correct. And so I don't understand why we're getting this notification. And there doesn't seem to be anybody to talk to about it because it's not the support people.
No, it's the link. It's what I talked about at the beginning. Sometimes if like when you're putting a new member in, if you're doing in Club Runner, double check on RI that it's there. Sometimes the link does not work.
Okay.
And the only way you can do it is go into the RI site to
The RI
change it. You
site.
can't do it through Club Runner.
Okay, I'll check that. Thanks.
Sharon,
Roger?
I had a similar thing happen, and I think the problem with mine was the recipient's mailbox was full and it was bouncing back. And I got the same message that I had the wrong email address for her, but I didn't. So I
Oh.
wonder if that could be an issue.
Yeah,
could be.
I don't know.
Roger?
Hey, Don, can you stop sharing now so we could all kind of talk and I could get everybody on the screen? Thank you. Okay, very cool.
Roger?
Don, we're an incorporated club in Ontario. And one thing that I did this year, which has helped greatly, is we went online and got a corporate key so that we could change our records for the corporation online rather than submit all this paperwork. It's a bit of a a pain in the butt to do it, but once it's done, you can go very, very quickly, make sure that your past records are up to date and use it in the future. So it's a good thing that's well worth doing, I think.
Definitely. I haven't heard that, but that's a good thing.
Yeah, you just go to the government website and say, how do I get a corporate key? And they'll come on and tell you, you need your corporate information, but you can log in and get the key.
So hopefully there's something like that in New York State as well. We don't know.
I don't think so.
But again, you just reminded me, and I said it at the beginning, I'll say it again. If you're a charitable organization or you have, now, some clubs have the Rotary Club is a registered organization, incorporated, and they also have a foundation, separate foundation. I think St. Catherine's Club is like that. Sharon, I'm not sure if you know that or not, but I believe they have a foundation. So you may be secretary of two components, just saying. But again, your corporation will always end in June 30th because that's the Rotary year. So your incorporation document should be the same. You have to make sure on both sides of the border that whoever is doing it, probably the treasurer, particularly for the charitable component, is getting those charitable year-end reports in. And usually in Ontario, you have 6 months to do it because you do not want to lose that charitable status. I've gone through that with another organization, and it takes years to get it back, sometimes never. Any other questions? Everybody must want to go home.
Sorry.
Okay, hopefully I've helped you a bit. Some of it's confusing, I understand that. If in fact you want to get more information, I'm pleased to respond to you. You'll see my email would be been on the link that Penny sent through. It's don.thorpe@simpatico.ca. I'm going to assume that we can send this out. Susan, can we somehow send out my PowerPoint
Yes.
to people? Because it has the links.
Yes, yes. So we're going to be posting everything down on the district's website for the club training assembly. So everyone's presentations and all the recordings and any other materials will be available for everyone to access. So,
Okay.
Yep.
So I've got to send it to Penny, right?
Yeah, send it to Penny.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I've checked the links. I had to update some, but I believe they're all still valid. It's just a quick way in. The RI site, I find it difficult. It's a little easier now for when you're doing club information. It comes up pretty quickly. If you're trying to find things like club standard recommended club bylaw, it doesn't come up. Or it's one of 1,500. It starts Rotaract there right at the front, but the club isn't. So the district one has those as well. Penny's got them up there, so it's easy to do. Okay, if there's no other questions,
You've done a great job, Don.
just remember I did it before an hour and a half, so just you got to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Don.
Thanks-
That was really
Thanks for
helpful.
coming,
Thanks,
everybody.
Don. Great ideas.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Bye.